Yeah, next point is councils. Provincial superiors and supreme moderators are required to have a council. Both the provincial superiors and general superiors, they will have the council to guide them, to suggest them. They are required to have a council made up of several members of the community to assist them in the governance of the community. The council is to assist them in the governance of the community or the administration of the provinces or entire institute. These provincial and general councils advise the superior. They advise the superior and enable some members to share in the direction of the community. They advise the superior, either provincial superior or general superior, and enable other members of the community to work in the direction of the institute or according to the charism of their own institutes. Canon 627. Next point is the chapters. Chapters. Chapters are collegial assemblies representative of the entire community. So chapters are collegial assemblies. It is one or two, not the one or two persons coming together. All of the institute, all of the community, according to their proper law, according to the constitution, either final professed or delegation among or from the final professed, as per the proper law. So chapters are collegial assemblies in group, representative of the entire community. They represent the entire institute, the province or the institute as a whole. They are the highest authority in the community. The chapter is the highest authority. These gatherings, which are carefully structured and regulated, are usually held every 3 to 6 years. Which are carefully structured and regulated, are usually held every 3 to 6 years, and are signal events in the lives of communities. A chapter is an important event in the life of the community, in the life of every member of the community or the institute. So they are held once in 3 years or once in 6 years. A general chapter once in 6 years, provincial chapter once in 3 years, 3 to 6. So according to the proper law, according to their own constitution, they can fix the period of time or years. In chapter, the delegates recall the identity and traditions of the community when they come together. They discuss and recollect the identity and traditions of the community and strive to renew it in the light of that heritage. And strive to renew it in the light of that heritage. They also discuss the current issues of the institute. They elect the supreme moderator. Another word for supreme moderator is superior general. They elect the supreme moderator. They deliberate major questions. They deliberate major questions. So important issues of the institute they discuss. And they issue norms to guide the community in the future. And issue norms to guide the community in the future. So chapters have the legislative power. Only they can make norms, rules for the institute or the community. Canon 631 to 633. Most communities also hold provincial chapters for the same purposes. So chapter, it comes from the Latin word capitulum. Capitulum. It came to mean a heading, a division of writing, a chapter of a book, literal meaning. So chapter of a book, a head also, heading, we call it as a chapter. In the early Middle Ages, monks came together daily to listen to the reading of a chapter of their rule. The meetings which also took up other matters were called chapters. The origin of this word. So original meaning is a heading, a division of writing, a chapter of a book. But in the Middle Ages, monks used to gather daily to listen to the reading of a chapter of their rule. And later the meetings, which also took up the matters or other matters, were called chapters. Property, next title, next point. Communities and their province are juridic persons. Earlier I said they are the juridic persons. Communities and their province are juridic persons. Hence, they may own and administer their own property. As juridic person, they own, they acquire and administer their own property. They are to do so while avoiding any appearance of wealth and in such a way as to express their version of poverty. So as religious, they should not exhibit too much of their wealth as if they are of the worldly persons. In such a way as to express their own version of poverty. They have to express their version of poverty. Each community and province is to have a finance officer, financial administrator. Each community and province is to have a finance officer who is accountable to the superior and council. This is the important task, to administer the finance, and he should be accountable to the superior and the council. The norms for the administration of church property must be observed. So this topic about the property or administration of the property will be dealt in the 5th book of the code, as the temporal goods of the church. Canon 634 to 640. And 741 paragraph 1. So next point, admission and formation in the institute. No one may be admitted to a religious community without suitable preparation. Suitable preparation is very important. And all of a sudden, simply we cannot take a person and admit him and allow him to make a profession. No. No one may be admitted to a religious community without suitable preparation. Canon 597 paragraph 2. The stages of these preparations are number 1, pre-novitiate. Pre-novitiate, and we know about this. This is a preliminary period of affiliation or association with the community. It's a preliminary period of affiliation or association with the community. And second one is novitiate, is the important period. Novitiate, second one. Qualified and suitable candidates are admitted to a structured process of vocational discernment. qualified and suitable candidates. Qualified and suitable candidates are admitted to a structured process of vocational discernment and spiritual formation while living within the community for at least 1 year. So this period is very important to discern the candidate's vocation and also to grow spiritually in the vocation and in the charism of the founder, to learn about the constitutions, their own constitutions, etc. Canons 641 to 653 and 735. The novitiate is a period of formation during which the novices conform their vocation to the institute. During the novitiate, the novices conform their vocation to the institute and they experience the institute's way of life. They experience the institute's way of life, and the superiors test their suitability and rectitude of intention. The novice master will test their suitability and rectitude of intention, and he will submit the report to the superiors. Suitability and rectitude of intention, the right or righteous intention of the candidate. It is normally accomplished in a house designated for this purpose. So where they will have the novitiate? Novices will have the training in the novitiate. A designated place is called novitiate. And must at least for 1 year, but not more than 2, canonically. The period of duration, at least 1 year and not more than 2 years. During this time, the novices undergo the guidance of a novice master. During this time, the novices undergo guidance of a novice master. So they are under the guidance of the novice master. They are introduced to the path and demands of religious life. They teach and direct them to the path and demands of religious life, and formed in the spirit and life specific to the institute. And form in the spirit and life specific to the institute. Since it is a time of probation, since it is a time of probation, the novice can freely leave the institute. If the novice doesn't want, he or she can freely leave the institute. And other way also will happen. The superiors can also dismiss the novice if the candidate is not suitable for the institute's way of life. The superiors can also dismiss the novice. Canons 646 to 653. So Canon 643, who should be admitted, who should not be admitted. The following are invalidly admitted to the novitiate. So they are not to be admitted. Number one who has not yet completed the 17th year of age. So a novice should be of 17th year completed. Number 2, a spouse while the marriage lasts. So he is not happy. If he is not happy with the wife, he cannot come and join the religious institute because that bond is there already. Number 3, one who is currently bound by a sacred bond to some institute of consecrated life or is incorporated in some society of apostolic life without prejudice to Canon 684. So if he is already a member in another institute, he cannot come and join here. He has to leave and get permission and produce the letter, and then only come and join. Number 4, one who enters the institute through force, fear or deceit, or whom the superior accepts under the same influence. So the person, the candidate should not enter under force and fear or deceit. And also similarly, the superior should not admit the candidate under force or fear. Number 5, one who has concealed his or her incorporation in an institute of consecrated life or society of apostolic life. So some will hide that he is already a member of another institute. So if he says that he is going for holidays and silently contacting another one and joining another institute is not valid. If it is proved, he should not be kept inside, should be sent out. So these are the important things to be admitted to the institute, the novitiate. So after the novitiate is a temporary profession. After novitiate, candidates are incorporated into the community by assuming the observance of the evangelical councils, usually for 3 years. After novitiate, candidates are incorporated into the community by assuming the observance of the evangelical councils, by professing the evangelical councils. It's usually for 3 years. During this time, they continue their spiritual and apostolic formation within the community. during the time of temporary profession. They continue their spiritual and apostolic formation. Within the community. Canons 654 to 657 and 659 to 660. Please take Canon 656. The validity of a temporary profession requires, number one, that the person making it has completed at least the 18th year of age. So when you should join? At the completion of 17th age. And automatically it's if it is 1 year of novitiate, so 12 months compulsory, and he has to finish 18th year, and beyond also no problem, but not less than 18. Number 2, that the novitiate has been made validly. 3, that admission has been granted freely and in accordance with the norms of law by the competent superior after a vote of his or her council. They should be promoted unanimously. 4, that the profession be explicit and made without force, fear or deceit. 5, that the profession be received by the lawful superior, personally or through another. So he can delegate. So the major superior is the provincial, he receives. If he is not able to receive, he can delegate another person. And next one is a perpetual profession. Upon the expiration of temporary vows, if religious request it, and are judged worthy, they are admitted to permanent profession. The final step in community membership. Canon 657 to 658. So they have to finish the period of temporary vows, and the religious, the person, the candidate should request it. Not only requesting, but also from the part of the superiors, they should judge whether he is worthy to be permitted. And when the superiors find that the candidate is worthy to be admitted, then they can make permanent profession. So Canon 658. So besides the conditions mentioned in Canon 656, that's of a temporary profession, numbers 3, 4, 5, and others attached by the Institute's own law, the validity of perpetual profession requires. So 3, 4, 5 of Canon 656 has applied here also for the permanent perpetual profession. Other than these three, number 1, that the person has completed at least the 21st year of age. So when they have to make the temporary profession after 18th age, okay, and at least 3 years, that means 21st age, 21 years. 2, that there has been previous temporary profession for at least 3 years without prejudice to the provision of Canon 657 paragraph 3. So these must be kept in mind. 657 paragraph 3. Perpetual profession can for a just reason be anticipated, but not by more than 3 months. So by canon law, 3 years, okay, and if there is any grave reason, it can be anticipated by 3 months only, not more than that, but it can be extended up to 6 years, and after 6 years also, if the person is not prepared suitably, if the candidate requests, some period can be granted as per the proper law. So next point is cloister. Number 5, right? After perpetual profession, cloister. In every religious house, there must be a cloister. Which is a manifestation of the separation from the world, typical of the religious life. That is why religious must live in houses exclusively reserved to them, that is why religious must live in houses exclusively reserved to them, from which they cannot absent themselves without permission. From which they cannot absent without permission. Now the religious communities are different, the construction of the religious communities, and earlier the religious houses are cloistered, so no entrance for everyone, for outsiders. Access is given only to the church or chapel, not to their private rooms and internal building. But nowadays, see our structures, from any corner anyone can enter into our house, so the aspect of cloister is not there. cloister will be more rigorous or more or less rigorous according to the character, purpose, and rules of each institute. Cloister will be more or less rigorous according to the character, purpose, and rules of each institute. In monasteries of contemplative life, it is always more rigorous. In monasteries of contemplative life, it is always more rigorous. And in those of nuns, the so-called papal cloister, is observed in conformity with the norms given by the Holy See. Is observed in conformity with the norms given by the Holy See. Canon 665 and 667. So monasteries of contemplative life, they have very rigorous cloister life, and no one is allowed, no other person, only the bishop, the particular place. And sometimes the provincial, if they have the affiliation. For example, Poor Clare, Sisters of Perpetual Adoration, they are of a papal cloister. So provincial will be allowed once a while if there is any need. So before profession, the religious must also renounce their own goods in the form and measure determined by the rule. Thus we know the religious must renounce the goods, whether giving up the administration of them or also their use of them together or in past, or renouncing their own property and the capacity to acquire. So the goods, temporal goods and the property, they have to renounce. So that's before the final profession. So this ceremony is there, renouncing of the property. They have to read the form that they are going to sign it, and with full freedom, knowledge, they have to sign, saying that they renounce the property. Not only renouncing but acquiring also. They should not acquire the property. So after profession, all what the religious acquires from his work belongs to the institute. So after the profession, whatever he gets out of his work, for example, wages, subsidy and pension, everything comes to the institute, belongs to the institute. Canon 668. So religious must also wear the habit of the institute. So that's why all are given the habit, right? Religious must also wear the habit of the institute, the sign of their consecration and a testimony of poverty. A sign of their consecration and a testimony of poverty. In what sense it is a testimony of poverty? Only one way, no design or Maybe it is the finest cloth some will get. But if it is a civil dress, a t-shirt or shirts or jeans of different type, right? So this is also testimony of poverty. Likewise, they must observe the dispositions concerning clerics with regard to the preservation of the decorum of their state. So why we wear, and why I tell to wear the cassock and come to the church? As a uniformity, decorum, and for the celebrations we had to be in utmost care and they must not or union related type. They must observe the norms of prudence with regard to chastity, and they must be constructors of peace and justice. The religious. So with regard to chastity, they should be prudent. Prudent in the sense with whom to talk, how much time to talk. So don't create doubts with your dealings. You may be talking spiritual things or spiritual discourses, but that might arise doubts for others, those who observe you, those who see you. And they must be constructors of peace and justice. Canons 669, 671, 672. Religious have the right to receive from their own institute what is necessary to realize the finality of their own vocation. So they have the right to receive from the institute whatever is required, necessary to realize the finality of their own vocation. This includes the means to conduct a dignified life. To realize the finality of their own vocation is what? To conduct a dignified life, the necessary formation, spiritual aid, and the other rights and duties established in particular law, in the constitutions. This includes the means to conduct a dignified life, the necessary formation, and spiritual aid, spiritual help, spiritual assistance, and other rights and duties established in the particular law. Canon 670. So when a religious is nominated bishop, so if a religious is a nominated bishop, he continues to belong to his institute. He continues to belong to his institute. He continues to be the member of the institute. But he is under the obedience to the Roman pontiff, not under the obedience of the provincial or general, but he is under the obedience to the Roman pontiff only. Under the obedience to the Roman pontiff only. And he is not subject to the obligations that limit his economic capacity. So no vow of poverty. He is not subject to the obligations that limit his economic capacity and others which he holds incompatible with his condition. Which he holds incompatible with his condition. So as the diocesan bishop, he may have to act in different way, not as the religious. So there should not be a conflict between the vow of poverty and his way of life. So freedom is given to him. This norm has the purpose of guaranteeing the freedom. This norm has the purpose of guaranteeing the freedom and independence of the bishop. The freedom and independence of the bishop in carrying out the office with which he has been entrusted. Guaranteeing the freedom and independence of the bishop in carrying out the office with which he has been entrusted. Canon 705 to 707. The next one is a separation from the institute. Separation from the institute. A member can be separated from a religious community in three ways. In three ways, a member can be separated from the religious community. So number one, transfer. A person can transfer from one religious community to another. A person can transfer from one religious community to another, but only with the permission of the authorities of each. But only with the permission of the authority of each. So either side, where he is joining and from where he is intending to get separated or leave, but only with the permission of the authorities of each, and after completing a 3-year period of probation. And after completing a 3-year period of probation. The Canon 684 and 685, 744. 684, 685 and 744. The next one is second one, departure. Professed religious may leave their communities. Professed religious may leave their communities. under that A, temporarily by means of an indult of exclaustration. Temporarily by means of an indult of exclaustration. What does it mean? That is to say, permission to live outside the cloister. So earlier we had seen no one should live outside of the cloister. If at all he goes, he should go with the permission, right? So this official permission granted to live outside the cloister, given by the supreme moderator, for a period of up to 3 years. So the supreme moderator can give permission only for 3 years, exclaustration. If the candidate wants to have more than 3 years, he should obtain permission from the Holy See. It carries with it the suspension of certain rights and duties. It carries with it the suspension of certain rights and duties, but not the laws of state. But not the laws of state. So the person, one who is in exclaustration, continues to be the member of the society, but he may not have the rights and duties of the society or institute, but he is the member, so that the religious continues to remain dependent on and under the care of his superiors, and also of the local ordinary. Canons 686, 687, 745. And B, expiration. By expiration of temporary profession, if he decides to abandon the institute, or if the institute does not admit him, to a subsequent profession, for just and grave reasons. Canon 688, 690, 688 to 690. So during the temporary profession, if he doesn't want to continue, he can decide, or if the institute doesn't want to take him, it can ask him to leave. And C is a permanently by means of an indult of departure. This is a permanent departure. I wrote a short form P. First one is a temporary departure, exclaustration for a particular period, and afterwards he can depart permanently, or if he wants to come back, he can come back. But this is a permanent departure. Permanently by means of an indult of departure, which carries with it a dispensation from vows. Which carries with it a dispensation from vows. Given by the Supreme Moderator, and the appropriate hierarchical authority. So if it is of the pontifical right, the Supreme Roman Pontiff, Holy See, appropriate hierarchical authority, requested by the interested party, one who leaves, he should make a request, requested by the interested party and conceded by the Holy See. So by the Holy See, if it is the institute of the pontifical right, or by the diocesan bishop, if it is of the diocesan right. Canons 691 to 693 and 743. And third one, first one transfer, departure, third one is dismissal. Through dismissal also one gets separated. Dismissal. Permanently professed members of religious communities may be dismissed on 3 grounds. Permanently professed members of religious communities may be dismissed on 3 grounds. A, ipso facto. One who publicly leaves the Catholic faith or who attempts marriage one who publicly leaves the Catholic faith or who attempts marriage is dismissed ipso facto by the canons 694. Canon, please take paragraph 1. A member is to be considered automatically dismissed if he or she, number 1, has notoriously defected from the Catholic faith. Number 2, has contracted marriage or attempted to do so even civilly. Even attempting the marriage civilly also is automatically dismissed. And the first one is notoriously defected from Catholic, not living the Catholic faith and the doctrines, speaking against it, and so on. So that is ipso facto, automatically. And B, obligatory. One who commits murder, abortion, or other violent crimes, or a cleric who lives in concubinage, or other scandalous sexual arrangement, must be dismissed. The major superior initiates action to that end. So it begins the process of dismissal. The major superior initiates action to that end. Canon 695. Please take Canon 695, paragraph 1. A member must be dismissed for the offences mentioned in Canons 1397, 1398, 1395. So these things, murder, abortion, and other crimes. Unless for the offences mentioned in Canon 1395, paragraph 2, the superior judges that dismissal is not absolutely necessary, and that sufficient provision can be made in some other way for the amendment of the member, the restoration of justice, and the reparation of a scandal. Paragraph 2. In these cases, the major superior is to collect the evidence concerning the facts and the imputability of the offense. The accusation and the evidence are then to be presented to the member, who shall be given the opportunity for defense. All the acts signed by the major superior and the notary are to be forwarded together with the written and signed replies of the member to the supreme moderator. So this is the process of dismissal. Okay, once a candidate is found guilty of above mentioned crimes, then the major superior initiates the process, and after having collected the evidences should be notified to the member. Thus, these are the things you have done, and a time should be given to him to defend himself. And after that, the acts, all the collection of the evidences, and with his own letter, signed and sealed, should be forwarded to the Supreme Moderator. And after having examined and studied everything, they take the final decision of a dismissal. This is the process, okay. That's obligatory. And C, facultative or mandatory. Facultative or mandatory. One who has committed other very serious and publicly established offences against the church or consecrated life may be dismissed. But only after repeated warnings. Opportunities to be heard. Referral to the Supreme Moderator. And confirmation by the hierarchical authority. Confirmation by the hierarchical authority. 696 to 701. A member can be dismissed for other causes provided they are grave, external, imputable, and juridically proven. Among such causes are habitual neglect of the obligations of consecrated life. So reasons, some of the reasons. The continuous neglect of the obligations of consecrated life, repeated violations of the sacred bonds, obstinate disobedience to the lawful orders of superiors in grave matters, grave scandal arising from the culpable behavior of the member, obstinate attachment to or diffusion of teachings condemned by the magisterium of the church, publicly adherence to the materialistic or atheistic ideologies, the unlawful absence mentioned in Canon 665 paragraph 2, if it extends for a period of 6 months, other reasons of similar gravity which are perhaps defined in the institute's own law. If a person, a candidate is found doing all these or one of these, he can, or the major superior can initiate the process. Not suddenly, but we said repeated warnings, and he should provide the defense from his part and should be presented. And the Canon 697 is the process. In the causes mentioned in the Canon 696, if the major superior, after consulting his or her counsel, judges that the process of dismissal should be commenced, number 1, the major superior is to collect or complete the evidence. 2, the major superior is to warn the member in writing or before 2 witnesses with an explicit caution that dismissal will follow unless the member reforms. The reasons for dismissal are to be clearly expressed, and the member is to be given every opportunity for defense. If the warning has no effect, another warning is to be given after an interval of at least 15 days. This is in the case of canonical warnings. So immediately we cannot serve the warning. First warning today and tomorrow or day after tomorrow second warning, no. So canonical days are 15. That means excluding the public holidays. So then only we should count 15 days. Number 3, if this latter warning is also ineffectual and the major superior with his or her counsel judges that there is sufficient proof of incorrigibility but cannot be corrected, and that the defense by the member is insufficient after 15 days from the last warning have passed in vain, all the acts signed by the major superior and the notary are to be forwarded together with the signed replies of the member to the supreme moderator. This is the process of dismissal. So these are the 3 important points to dismiss a member in permanently professed state.